New Marvel Snap Patch means card text changes to a number of things. Well, I don't think there's anything incredibly groundbreaking this month. There are a number of noteworthy things that you'll definitely want to be aware of. Let's jump into it. Three of the five cards being changed this month are cards that are all kind of related to each other, so let's go over them all at the same time. Mantis is going from a 1/2 to a 2/3. Cable is going from a 2/2 to a 3/4. And Maria Hill is going from a 2/3 that can generate a random 1 or 2 cost card to a 1/2 that always generates a random 2 cost card. Second Dinner notes that overall, they're looking to diversify and make more specific the roles that cheap cards that generate other cards in your hand do in the early game. Other cards in the category, in addition to these three, are things like Agent 13, Sentinel, Snow Guard, and Mirage. I think one thing that it looks like they're trying to do with these changes is they're trying to make it so the cards that only generate a single card in your hand are a little bit more appealing. Specifically, a lot of these cards that generate cards to fill your hand tend to see play with stuff like Collector and Loki now, meaning cards like Snow Guard and Agent Coulson that give you 2 generations for the cost of 1, and even Sentinel does this to a lesser degree as well, tend to be a little bit higher performing in these archetypes than these others have. Second Dinner notes that these might not be the only changes that they make to this group, but they're just kind of trying to make some small changes here and see where things land in terms of play rates, and win rates to see if they can create some real diversity in these 1 to 3 energy card generators. As far as my thoughts on these changes go, I think Mantis is probably still pretty mediocre even as a 2/3. The one upside I could see with this cost change is she now eloquently follows up something like Nebula on turn 2 to make her hit more likely. That being said, I would be surprised if she's better than playing something like Mirage or Sentinel. Cable is kind of appealing from a Loki Silver Surfer perspective. He is now another 3 energy card, and the Loki Surfer deck, I think, is a real force that needs to be respected, and a card that generates cards that also gets buffed by Surfer is exactly what that deck's looking to play. Finally, Maria Hill, I think, is the real winner of this group of cards. Specifically, she's a card where if you play her on the first turn of the game, you're guaranteed to have something to do on the second turn of the game. And this type of curve filler is going to be quite strong in a number of places, I think. In addition to being able to play on turns 1 into 2, I can see Maria Hill being pretty good in a Silver Surfer style deck as well, because you could play her using your extra energy on turn 4 to then have a 2-drop that you can play alongside another 3-drop on turn 5, letting you kind of just fill your energy in over the course of the game, getting the most out of it. Up next, we have an interesting redesign to Uatu, a Series 1 and 2 card. Originally a 1/2 that said, once this is in your hand, you can see unrevealed locations. Uatu's new text is a 1/1 that says, at the start of the game, shows the right location to you. This is obviously a noteworthy design shift because Uatu no longer needs to be in your hand to gain its benefit. Similar to High Evolutionary, just including Uatu in your starting 12 cards means you get its effect at the start of the game. Having this little bit of information is pretty valuable in a number of spots, but the question will be, is it valuable enough to make up for the fact that you're going to have this 1/1 in your deck? Decks that are looking to perhaps fill in location with our newest card release, Elsa Bloodstone, or can pump 1 energy cards with something like Khazar might really like this effect. Second Dinner notes overall, they're not sure exactly what direction they want to go in with this card, and this change is a little bit conservative. So similar to the first 3 cards that we looked at, they might make another adjustment to this one in the future. But at a minimum, I think this new design is much better than the old one, and I'm interested to tinker with it to see if I can get a feel for the value that this information can provide. Finally, we have what is technically a functional change to Mojo, but in most situations, he's just going to be the same card as before. Previous ongoing text for Mojo was, if both players have 4 cards of this location, he gets +6 power. Now he's going to say, if both sides here are full, +6 power. This largely just impacts Mojo inside of the Space Throne. We saw a similar templating change on Dazzler in a previous patch, and they must have liked the way that worked out. I think for the sake of consistency, this is a fine change, but from a power level perspective, it's essentially a non-change. Overall, I think I expect this patch to be one of the lesser impactful ones that Marvel Snap has had over the last year. That being said, it does still give us some new toys to play with, and I like that they're paying attention to cards that are underperforming, and specifically, I really enjoy that they're taking a look at older game pieces like Cable and Mantis that had been outclassed by newer game pieces like Mirage, and trying to get them up to snuff in a way that like all of them are still playable. It's pretty common in other card games and video games in general that newer content can eclipse older content, and they just leave that older content to rot. And I really like that Marvel Snap is taking a proactive approach and trying to make all of these characters meaningful and playable and fun. If you enjoyed my musing on this topic, as always, snap that like button. Hopefully we'll see you back again real soon for another Marvel Snap video here on YouTube.